Hold on to your butts.
All right, so I was just sent old classic clip. Someone sent it to me on a messenger, but the hot crazy scale. You remember that video?
Yeah.
Uh, Very funny. And as I was looking at it, I was like, you could kind of use this as like a potential referral partner as well. Like how much production they do and how much of pain in the butt it might be to take on that referral.
Yeah, how much they actually know.
Well, I mean, like because there's some sources that are really great and have a pretty good understanding, and then there's other sources who have no understanding at all. And then there's other sources who are just literally throwing stuff, the old thing, throwing shit against the wall and see if it sticks, or
Yeah.
spaghetti, or whatever people say. So it's like, yeah, sure, they produce a lot, but like, I'm gonna take 5 years off my life if I work with you for 5 years. So maybe that hot crazy scale has more things that you could plug it into.
So what would it be instead of hot crazy?
I would say like
Would it be?
production versus trouble,
There you go.
something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be my first thought. So,
You got to
so
stay
anyway,
above the Becky Mendoza line.
I don't remember that one. That's very familiar though. What's that one?
It's the hot crazy scale from How I Met Your Mother.
Is it okay? Is that How I Met Your Mother? Nice. Well, it's been a while since I've actually been seated at my desk to do one of these. Probably a few weeks.
It's kind of odd.
Yeah, I moved it too. So,
Your ankle monitor's acting up. You can't leave the house.
yeah, pretty much. Um, But all right, my biggest topic for you is right here in my hand. So please inform me and everyone else what the heck is going on with all of this mail and spam that I'm getting from the insurance world. Look at this. This is just over the last couple days. At least 13 pieces of paper here, all letters, um, all letters from various insurance companies. Picture of my house stats, my house address. Um, Jeez, of course, people are calling me like crazy right now. And so my house address, the stats, like everything you can think of, it breaks it down. It looks legit. I'm super familiar with stuff like this because of the mortgage world too, by the way. But
Yeah.
please explain from an insurance standpoint what all of this mail is. Like half of these things are all from Allstate people, different Allstate folks. Some say agency owners, some don't. And so explain to us this mail and how in the world, when I get a quote that says my insurance is going up by over $1,000 a year, almost all of these quotes are well under in total $1,000 a year. How could that be?
Um, just no other word than they are just lying to you on that piece of paper. It's the adult version of, hey, come back to my van. I've got candy in it. That's what it is. They don't, I mean, you've gone through, whether you remember or not, the questions I ask you or I ask your clients to quote them include what's your spouse's name? What's your previous address? Where's your car insurance? How old's the roof? Do you have any pets? How old's the plumbing? What do you do for work? What's your highest level of education? So they don't have any of that. And the reason there's a lot of Allstate, um, this is just my personal feeling, is you're getting a lot of letters from people who are really struggling to get business. Um, so they're just like you said, just throwing
I
shit at the wall and
I
hoping it
would
sticks.
disagree a little bit with that. I think you're getting a lot of letters from very large companies who have a large marketing budget, and then whether or not the agent on this matters or not is something entirely different. Whether they do a lot of business, but the people sending out these things have money to spend.
Well, those are most of those are all state agents, I'm assuming. Couple of
About
farmers,
half.
couple of
The other
farmers
ones
in
I've
there.
never heard of, or they don't even have their company name on there.
Yeah, well, there you go. So if you've ever entered your
Lemonade,
information
got one
online,
from Lemonade.
Lemonade doesn't even write in DFW.
Well, they're sending letters. Yeah, but keep going. I'll keep giving you some other names. This one just looks like a local random guy.
Yeah, well, I can tell you why you're getting them now. When did you buy the house? What month?
uh, April, maybe March or April.
Yeah. So I'm sure you entered your information in some sort of database at some point that then sells
Huh.
it. My guess is the credit bureaus sold your information, and these guys are just a part of those lists that they purchased your information.
Yep.
Very surface level. I'm always open to entertain them. Honestly, the only people that I hear in my 5 years that fall for those and end up calling those people are elderly.
Yeah.
Um, Typically, someone's like you, and they ask their agent, like, "What's up with this?" And my answer is, I mean, you can call them, but I can just quote it out for you right now because I work with the same company. Um, it's just a bait and switch, like we've talked about all last year. They're just hoping to get you on the phone. They get you in with this number. They run everything. They get your payment information at the end of the quote. They're like, "Oh, by the way, it went from 900 to 2,700, but that's still pretty good." So they just hope
Yeah, they'll
that
give you that. That's pretty good. So
it's
yeah,
all.
I've got a dozen that I wrote out here, and out of all of these dozen, only three of them are over $900. Everything else is under $900 a year.
Yeah.
And they even list down one, two, three, four. I mean, a spreadsheet. Six of them show the deductible as well, and almost all of them are 2%. But two of them even say the lowest one is $668 a year. So that's $56 a month. They wrote down on the paper for insurance, homeowners insurance, and only 1% deductible.
So you've worked with clients. You
I'm
you
gonna call them. I'm
you see
calling them.
the you see the numbers that your clients give you after they speak with me. What's the lowest you've seen? And I can give you the answer, but it would be a townhome that recently closed for you. Um, that was still well over $100 a month.
Yeah. And there's not even any fine print on this either. Oh, here it is on the back. So blank page on the back, like gray print. You can't even see it unless you really look and try hard. Um, Sample quote is based on certain assumptions.
Yeah.
No prior insurance claims. Ding ding ding. Um,
The assumptions being that they're sending you a quote from 1996 when
yeah,
rates were under $1,000 a year.
yeah. The assumptions are that the
You can't
market is back to being in our favor.
you can't read.
Yeah.
That's the assumption. No, yeah.
Let's see.
I get them all the time.
This sample quote includes multiple policy discount.
Yeah.
Um, Discounts may already be included. Let's see. Credit.
But focus on the simple phrase you just said. You said sample quote.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not even a quote, it's
yeah.
a sample of a quote.
Well, so this happens in mortgage too.
Yeah.
But it's really important just to highlight like people are getting spammed out there. We've been talking about it for a year. Look at all this is less than 1 week. I've got over a dozen mailers, and I get a picture from the post office. I got more in my mail today. So when you get your credit pulled on mortgage, people call you. Those are called credit trigger leads. I
Mhm.
find that they are a very unethical practice by not our government, but major bureaucracies that are very locally tied to the government called credit bureaus.
Yeah.
Um, and they sell your information. You mentioned it. They sell your information without your express permission to buyers, and not even the highest bidder. Anybody who wants to bid, you can have it too. I'm selling it to everybody. They
Oh
make
yeah.
billions of dollars off of selling your credit information every year. And there's legislation out there right now being introduced over the last year or two to try to ban credit triggers, or at least rein it in a little bit. And they're fighting it. They lost last year at the last minute, 11th hour. They got pulled from the bill because the credit bureaus and their lobbyists are so strong and they make so much money.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna get them from everywhere. We work with not we don't work with, but I know of companies that partner with insurance agents because they're getting trigger leads like that. So like you get home renovation. You ever notice how solar and roofing shows up a couple weeks into you buying a home and they only stop at your house? It's because they're buying information. You just bought the house. They're like, oh, let's go talk to them. And it's like,
Well, and they say that I just talked to all your neighbors and we're doing this deal over here. And then you watch them walk straight out of the neighborhood.
I had one, he was like, did your neighbor tell you I was coming? And my response was, what neighbor? He was the one on the end of the street. I go, what's his name? It's like, your neighbor. I was like, we moved here 2 weeks ago. I don't know anybody. And he just kind of looked at me. I was like, what do you want? Like,
But it's just really important that people understand what marketing is versus what advising is. You know, that's two different things. So I heard something really cool last year. I've said it probably a couple times already, but there's a lot of people who have been in the business for 10, 20 years plus that are losing business on a daily basis to people who don't know what they're doing because they have better marketing.
yeah,
So sometimes it's true that you don't need to be 20 plus years. A lot of times it's true that if your one and only sales pitch is I've been in the business for 20 plus years, that is not great. Because what have you done for me lately? Do you know what's happening in current times and not just 15 years ago? So you definitely have to ask those questions and make sure people are on top of their game when you're shopping insurance, when you're shopping mortgage and everything else, when you're shopping realtors. Make sure they know what they're doing. But there's a lot of people out there that are really good at marketing that have no idea how to sell a mortgage or a house or insurance policy or anything like that. So this is a great example, an illustration of like the bait that they're going to switch on. $64 a month is your insurance estimates. If you're feeling concerned about how much things cost these days, you may benefit from an updated quote. Well, maybe, but also your situation is what you qualified for. So when they sell the trigger leads and your information to Rocket Mortgage or all these other big call centers that are calling. I had a guy yesterday call me and he said I've getting tons of calls. I answered a few of them. I talked to a couple and then it just got so out of control that I just don't even answer my phone at all.
mm,
Um, and he said that Rocket was definitely one of them. So Rocket Mortgage is calling. And that's just one example. But you have to know who you're dealing with. These are call center folks. They're not even located in Texas half the time. Sometimes they are located in Texas, but there's a lot of ways that you can kind of um, find out whether or not they're good advisors. Because there are plenty of people at Rocket Mortgage that are good advisors. But just a company as a whole, they have billions of dollars on marketing that they spend, and they hire people left and right every day. So you might get one of those people who are new. You might get someone who's super seasoned and does a great job. But you've got to be able to determine. And if you're doing this for the first time, it's really hard to determine who's good and who's bad, who's just reading off the script. Sometimes you can get that feel, but man, so it sounds like it's crazy to hear that they're doing that in the insurance world too, that they're just selling your information.
it's not so much it's more on the captive side and those what you got in your hand right there is what I would call captive agents. My former employer does this to an extent. I'll get text messages or voicemails from agents that are still there on the sales floor and asking to reshop my policies, and I like to mess with them a little bit. But the direct marketing is crazy. I mean, I've seen emails and text messages go out as me after I left the company to my former clients, saying it's time to shop, and they don't even realize they're not talking to me or that I moved. So there's always kind of shady, shady stuff, but it comes down to awareness. I mean, you're smart enough. We'll go ahead and clip that and make sure everyone can hear me say that. But you're smart enough to know, and I mean, you're in the business, so you see these numbers day to day anyway. But $600 a year, you're like, okay, you might have had me at 2,800, but you put 600 on this sample quote. That now I know you're just messing with me.
Yeah.
But too many people
Yeah.
don't have that awareness. They just see that small shiny number and they're like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
it. This
I
is
have
the
to
answer.
call. I have to
This is the
call.
answer." Yeah. I mean, the opposite end of this is my phone's been ringing off the hook, current clients And new clients complaining that their insurance went up this month or is going up because their mortgage is going up. And then they send me their information and their insurance renewed in May of last year or in February of last year. And so they're so unaware as to when bills come out and when things start and stop that they think their insurance is going up in December when they've been overpaying. Their insurance went up 2 grand 6 months ago, but they
Yeah.
didn't notice it.
It is super important to understand what is in an escrow account. I've put out some information about that. One of our friends reached out and said they followed the videos and it was helpful. They just followed what I said in the little series and it actually worked. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that it's like, coming across as coherent because that doesn't always happen when I speak. But you have to understand what's in the escrow account. Escrow analysis are coming out right now. People are getting hammered because the escrow analysis are wrong most of the time. They're not using current information, just like your credit score. You have to understand what that is. When you look up Credit Karma, they're not using the same data that these credit bureaus are using. And then when you do go on Experian.com, which is on the Super Bowl ads and everything else,
Mm.
they're not your friend, first of all. And then second of all, when you look on their app at their score, it updates instantly on stuff. The actual credit bureaus are it's a bureaucracy. They don't update instantly ever.
No.
And so that score is not coming until way later. So understanding how and where to find your credit score, how it works, understanding what's in an escrow account, understanding the dates and when things are going to renew. Like most people probably know when their gym membership renews or when their Netflix account renews and things like that. So why are we so hyper focused on these things that cost $50 and less every month when you've got things that cost thousands of dollars every month and
Yeah.
you're not quite sure? So
Yeah.
let's really hone in on the education piece of like, what is it that's renewing? When is it renewing? Let's get a spreadsheet, set a reminder in your calendar. And as a consumer, that might be enough. And then you call the professionals and we step in at the right times of the year and help you advise from there. But what if you did that? What if you set some alerts and understood when your policies are going? But when you go with these giant corporations, they're not there for you to help you do those things. Having individual brokers and people that are on the ground in your neighborhood that can go meet you at a coffee shop and help you with this stuff, which I do and have been doing a lot lately. That's the difference. That's the broker difference versus big giant business difference. That's, why should I go with a broker? Well, here right now, post closing, do you want help or do you want to be waiting on the line with a call center and someone who's going to research your case and then an hour later not help you?
Yeah. To me, it's as simple as, hey, if you bought your house in June, know that your insurance didn't go up in December. To me,
Yeah.
that feels kind of common sense.
Now,
But
some policies are 6 month policies though, right? Cars and stuff.
cars, but never your home. The bank won't allow it. Um, so it's one of those things. Cars, yes, but if you worked with somebody who knows what they're doing, there's a good chance that your car is running on the same timeline as your house because they were smart and they set you up for success. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just funny. Like I've gotten angry phone calls of my mortgage went up $600 a month. You need to shop my insurance, and I look and
Oh,
my response is, hey, your insurance renewed in May, seven
do you
months
know,
ago.
from the mortgage side, you know what the first thing I look into is, did you follow your realtor advice and my advice at closing and file your homestead exemption?
There's a lot of them
No,
who haven't. Yeah,
no. For years they've been in the house and they haven't filed homestead exemption. So PSA to the world, especially here in Texas, file your homestead exemption. If you live in a home and you have not filed your homestead exemption, do it now. There's no deadline. You don't have to. It didn't pass because January 1st is gone or anything like that. File it. It'll go retroactive at least 2 years backwards, and you might even see a refund check if you did it. So, but if you don't do it, only thing I can guarantee you is that it's going to keep going up as much as the county is allowed to raise it each year by law.
yeah,
So do it, file it, file it, file it.
yeah. It's a fun
It
time.
will save you money. And the reason a lot of people are getting hammered on their escrow analysis is because they don't have the homestead exemption. And then if they did file it, well, the escrow, and this is another problem I have with escrow accounts, but what happens now is you filed the escrow, or the escrow analysis was done in November, but you filed your homestead exemption today because you watched our video. Well, now your escrow analysis is old because it's going to take the county weeks or months to hit the homestead exemption. So all year long, for the rest of the 8 months of the year, you're going to be paying on the high property taxes into
Hmm.
the escrow account. So hopefully by the end of the year, you have what's called an overage and you get a refund check. That's how it's going to work. It's going to take that long to
Yeah.
see the differences. But if you filed your homestead exemption prior to November and it didn't kick in until after they did that escrow analysis, well, they're still going to do that where they're going to charge extra because they think you've got a shortage. So they're going to cover that. And then they're going to charge you extra as well because they're going to try to cover that shortage going forward as well. So they're charging you two extra things, the shortage and for the future, in that amount that they're recalculating and making your payment go up to $300 a month. So if your escrow or if your homestead exemption already went into place, but the escrow analysis didn't take account, call the company and say you need to do a new escrow analysis
Hmm.
because this is way off and the amount that you need to collect is lower. So please do a new escrow analysis and request that from them.
I've been telling clients that that if your insurance renews middle of the year, like middle of the summer, what does it hurt you to call your servicing company and say, "Hey, I'd like an escrow analysis so we can get an accurate number." If our
Yep.
payment goes up because the insurance went up, that's fine, but we'd rather pay more now than
Yeah.
double in
And
December.
so right now you can get a trifecta to try to fight this escrow analysis. So pretty soon here in April, you can protest your property taxes. You're going to get lower property taxes. You haven't had a homestead exemption, but you can file your homestead exemption. You're going to get lower property taxes. You haven't shopped your insurance in a while, shop your insurance. You might get lower insurance because auto renewals obviously are always a little higher. And so those three things right there can help the escrow come way down and that analysis be way off. But if you don't tell them, they're going to keep collecting. So if you're just waiting on them to do the right thing, that's not going to happen. You've got
No.
to step in and make a couple phone calls, wait on hold. It's a real pain in the butt. I did it a few months ago and it really helped. And I got my numbers down for the home that I do have an escrow account on. So even me as a mortgage broker, owner, professional, whatever you want to call me, advisor, I have to go through those really super monotonous steps as well.
Yeah. It's the escrow is annoying.
Yeah, but to switch topics real quick, because that is super important. Anyone who listens to this, even if it's one person, that might save you $150 a month on
Mhm.
your payment. Like, go, don't let them take that from you. And sometimes I see it work out to where you think you're going to get a refund later on, and that refund check just does not show up. So you can't count on the county to do the right thing. You got to poke.
Yeah, I mean ours just went. We got a refund check and our mortgage payments going down $280 a month for this year. And then taxes will obviously affect that coming up, which should be lower. So we'll
And what
probably
was the
have
reason
another.
for your overage then?
Um, our taxes, because we purchased at a weird time. Um, and then
So
we
did you
protested
protest?
last year.
Yeah.
So that'll come out what, April, you said?
Somewhere around there. Yeah,
The
I don't know
bill,
the
yeah.
official rules.
And I mean, we got our value down 50 grand. So we'll see a drop there. Our insurance actually went down. Um, so we'll get it all back. We'll probably end up having a probably another overage this upcoming year, depending on what the insurance looks like in October. But I
It's
I
something you have to stay vigilant with.
I understand it very little, and even just the little that I know it, like provides so much peace of mind because I know when things happen and when to expect numbers to change. And it's really that simple. If you know two or three things, your life becomes a little bit calmer, depending on how the information upsets you or doesn't. But you at least know. It's not like you
Yeah.
have to have this huge, long education background in order to understand it. You just have to have a simple understanding of plus or minus. Like
But you also
that's
have
it.
to have a team. That's what we are. We're
Hmm.
an extension of your team, whether it's your personal finances, whether you're a realtor, we're a team for your clients. Like that's how it works. You can't do this on your own. I can't run a mortgage brokerage on my own. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you need a team. You can't It takes 9 guys to play baseball at once. And one guy can't do it.
Yeah,
And
Benny only got to
so,
rotate 7 positions instead of 8, so you
yeah,
need the
yeah,
9 guys.
yeah. So, all right. Anyway, to wrap up here, my phone's ringing off the hook right now as we're talking. Volume is picking up. People are out in the market. Doesn't matter what interest rates are doing, even though they're kind of hanging on and tiny, a little bit each week are coming down. So I think overall positive on rates, but people are out there and action is happening. So if you're in the loan business and things aren't really happening for you, and maybe you're looking to make a switch, Clubhouse Lending is my company. We're looking for people right now to really start growing. A little sales pitch there. Like if you're not seeing action, or if you're seeing a ton of action and you just don't like your structure, another reason to think about the broker side. There's so much we can do, and if you're someone looking for a home right now, or a mortgage or a refinance or whatever, there are so many things that we can do on the broker side. We have flexibility. We set up our own systems. We can help you circumvent the big bureaucracies, all those kinds of things. So you're going to get customized, care effectively, or advice, where like I'm trying to get some legal advice right now, and they're not going to even provide the advice. They're too scared. They don't want to say one thing and be wrong. So like it's just so much different on the broker side versus the big corporate side. So
hmm
we are here to help. So action is happening. You said it. It's crazy busy. I'm on the phone way more right now than it's been over the last few months. Tons, and really trying to make sure I take care of my time is difficult right now. It's so busy.
Yeah. I mean, it's busy on our side. It's a different kind of busy. I'm just dealing with phone calls where I don't know why we're talking, but this year
Well,
will
but
be
that's how it starts. A
yeah,
lot of times it starts with people that may not be as qualified, and then everybody else catches up. But
yeah,
those people, if you're not as qualified, now is the time because your window is tightening.
yeah. I mean, for us, this year will be, we're already starting to see it for some of our fringe carriers. Rates are, in some aspects, going to be going down. So that's good. So pray that we don't get hail in the next 3 weeks, because that'll script the whole year. But like for instance, Progressive auto rates, they're seeing a big decrease in 7 days. The rates will be redone for them. We've got a couple carriers where their home rates are going down. They're opening up their capacity. They want more business. So if we don't see a major hurricane in Texas or major hailstorm or tornadoes, knock on wood, we should see a slow decline, if not on the opposite end, just not a huge raise at all this year. So it's all starting to correct. Like we've talked, that they filled that pool back up and they haven't had to empty it yet. So as long as it stays full, they don't have to. There's nowhere for the water to go, hypothetically. So they're telling you to keep it in your pocket, and they're also doing new things to transfer the risk over to you. So you may see a lower number, but your financial responsibility on the back end is a little bit higher, and we can obviously discuss that as we go through the year, but and see those changes. But it is getting busy because of that. So everything's
There's a
going in the
lot of
right
things happening
direction.
in the markets,
Yeah.
and a lot of fallout yet to be seen on what some of these things that the government's doing right now, if they're going to go our way or not. So we'll see. But it's happening. I called it. 25 is going to be a really busy year, and it might not be because interest rates come down. An economist told me last year a healthy market's right around 6 or so% interest rates. So we're back in a healthy market.
Yeah. You froze. We were doing so good. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. You
Oh,
froze.
are
You
you
froze
back?
that whole thing. I was like, you were doing so good.
Yeah, well, I stopped. Where did you hear last?
The markets.
Yeah, 6% market, right, is a good healthy market per an economist I talked to, and we're there. And so we're just a little bit higher than that. So there's some room for the rates to come down, but we're in a healthy market. If you're out there and you're worried about your budget, you have a house, you're looking to refinance, you want a house, you're trying to figure out how to be affordability. Credit card debt is still a problem. Consumer spending is a problem. But there's a lot of things that we can do to help you just on a very simple level. So it doesn't have to be really complicated. There's a ton of nuances, but we know them from each side. And I'm not going to try to answer insurance questions. Greg's not going to answer mortgage questions, but put the team together, get a plan, stay on that plan. If you do that, you're going to have a really successful 25.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So let's go ahead and cut it here. A quick recording ended up being 35 minutes, so we're getting
I
better
know.
at that.
Yeah. All right. Is it
Matt,
stopped?